Everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Lamia and I'm on a mission to make access to education and opportunities everybody's business. And on this channel, I speak about many scholarships, opportunities here and there, and sometimes I talk about my own educational and career path. Today, I'm starting the most exciting series, which I've been anticipating for so long now. So I'll be talking all about my UN internship experience. There's really not a lot of content around this topic on the internet, probably because people who get UN internships are doing serious things with their lives. And like the 2 or 3 videos that do exist on this topic, I promise you I've probably contributed at least 30 views to each video. Like, shout out to these creators for honestly doing the Lord's work. So a year ago, I was really lucky to join this club of people who have been fortunate enough to get UN internships, and I always promised myself, like I oathed to myself, that I would demystify the whole process and I would pretty much like run wild with sharing all of this information that is otherwise quite hard to access. So in this series, I'll be reviewing my internship, the good, the bad, the not so good. I'll be talking about my UN internship interview experiences, plural, because I've done more than one. Best of all, I have this really exciting video planned where I will basically be kind of like measuring the impact of my internship, because it's so hard to get that so many people find themselves in a situation just asking themselves, like, is it even worth it? But today, I thought I'd kick off this series just, with a story time, talking about, how the whole process went from, submitting my application to, finally signing on the dotted line. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my computer because I've been known to digress in my stories and I'd like to keep this as to the point as possible. Oh yes, disclaimer, I have been wanting to work with the UN since I was like 5. So if at any point it comes across like I'm showing off, please give me the benefit of the doubt. It's probably just like peak excitement. Because even though this happened a year ago, I still don't believe it actually happened. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. So around June or July of 2021, I came to find out about the UNICEF internship program, which was amazing because it was paid. UN internships are notoriously unpaid. And of course, the two main headquarters are, Geneva and New York, two very expensive cities. So, the status quo was really that unless you came from a well-off family, a UN internship was really off the table for you. So when I came to find out about the UNICEF internship program, which happened to be paid, I was like, what is going on? This is amazing. How have I not known about this? I was really excited. Did all my research. Because let me be honest with you guys, I was like, this is unheard of, paid UN internships. But at the same time, I was just like, it can only be UNICEF. I mean, it is one of the most popular UN agencies as well. And also, I think it aligns with my personal mission. I'm here for women and children, especially. Please don't quote me. But I think at that time, it had only been in effect as of a year or something, so it was still kind of new. And that made me feel better because honestly at that point I was just thinking, how has this been existing and I didn't know about it? It was quite shocking to me. Initially I just went into what's the catch mode. I was like, is it one of those where there's 3 internships every year? But I was actually really excited to see on the UNICEF vacancies page, when I hit the internship toggle, that actually there were multiple internships. Anyway, I quickly realized that with lots of global South countries, especially African countries, I guess it's a DEI initiative where the internship is actually exclusively for nationals of that country. So the first internship I had applied for was in helping with social media with UNICEF Jordan. And I don't know why, I'm really delusional. It's how I live my life. Delusion has helped me with everything. It's helped me to get to this position, so I'm gonna continue being delusional. But for some reason, you guys, I really did convince myself that the first application I put in, specifically with the UNICEF internship program, because my friends will blast me if I have you guys believing that this was my first ever UN application. It was not. It was not. I've put in millions of applications. So anyway, I just thought it would go through. I really thought I would be moving to Jordan. I was so prepared to get that call, you need to move to Amman. I was very prepared. I was doing my research. I was like, oh, finally, I'll get to see Petra. I'll finally get to have my picture floating in the Dead Sea, reading, a Vogue magazine. I really thought that it would work. Anyway, that did not happen, evidently. But when my application status did change to application in review, A month in, I realized that the probability of me actually moving to Jordan and being selected for this internship was actually pretty low. So I applied for the next best thing, which was actually an internship with UNICEF Zimbabwe, which of course I thought I had really high chances with, not because I was actually qualified for the specific internship, because it was something to do with finances, and yet here I was, somebody who hates numbers. I still submitted my application because delusion. I just thought I had high chances because it was only open to Zimbabwean nationals, but no, never heard back on that one. And the third application I put in was the one that I did eventually get. So it was a communications internship, because obviously you have to read the terms of reference. And I remember reading it like, I don't know if this is my delusion talking, but I really feel like I'm really well suited for this internship. They'd mentioned things like, you know, if you have podcast experience, if you have blog writing experience, like this is for you. You know, even though this was my third application within the UNICEF internship program, it was like my millionth UN application. So I was a bit jaded at this point in time. I was feeling a bit disheartened, if I'm honest. And I remember just going back and forth thinking to myself, I really don't want to submit this application because what's the point? And I actually have ocular proof that this is what I was feeling at the time. Yeah, here's the email I received from the system like a day before the deadline to tell me to either submit my application or withdraw. You know, since this whole video has been really transparent, I'll tell you guys for free that I think my greatest strength and weakness is that I am persistent to a fault. Like I will try and try and try and try, and I think my mom and my sister can speak to how detrimental this can be to myself and unfortunately to those around me. But in this case, being persistent actually worked, as you know is evident because I'm telling this story. I sat on the dining room table and I literally just stared at my computer like, do I really want to do this? Then I went onto LinkedIn, found the actual job, and you know how LinkedIn kind of tells you like how many people have applied for the specific position, and at that time it was about 136, and that's when I realized it was with headquarters. I thought to myself, I'm gonna submit this application because I'm already halfway through, like let me just do it for the pants at this point. But honestly, I made a commitment to myself that day that I would never apply for another thing with headquarters. I said from that point on, if I was gonna submit another application with the UNICEF internship program, it had to be in a country office. I don't feel like explaining the whole system of UNICEF country offices and donor countries and headquarters, but basically if the position was with UNICEF headquarters in New York or in Geneva, you could count me out. You would not be receiving an application from me. However, if it was UNICEF Sudan, UNICEF Brazil, like you'd be hearing from me. And my reason for that was obviously that it would be less competitive. I mean, everybody wants to be, you know, in Geneva, everyone wants to be in New York. People who are not actually from developing countries are, you know, a bit more skeptical to go to a Juba, to go to a Yemen, to go to a Mogadishu. I, being from a developing country, I was ready. If they needed me to be in Rabat tomorrow, I would be packing my bags and brushing up on my Arabic. So yes, I submitted my application. Honestly, you guys, I'll keep it a buck with you. I didn't think much of it, except the, you know, the random thoughts that would pop in my head like, I don't know if this is the delusion, but I really felt like I was really well aligned with this internship. Like the description was, it was giving Lamia. I just didn't think about it because, you know, I'd been disappointed twice before with the two previous UNICEF internship programs and countless other times with other UN internship applications. Anyway, just went about my life, was actually looking at different options now because my mom had, you know, popped into my room and subtly, you know, let me know that the UN is not the be-all and end-all, and it encouraged me to branch out. Again, this ties into my persistence to a fault. For the first time ever, I actually heard where she's coming from. I was like, you're absolutely right. And that's where my mentor was going. And then the one night I was watching Come Dine With Me. Oh, you guys, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was watching Come Dine With Me, lying on the couch with my mom. No, my mom had actually gone to her room like momentarily. It must have been about 6 p.m. Open my emails and I see an email, and let me read it to you verbatim. Okay, so subject line, UNICEF Giga Comms internship invitation to interview. And you guys, I didn't even read the rest of the email, just the subject line. Kid you not, I started running up and down the passage. Yeah, my mom had obviously known that it was probably something UN related. I don't think I was speaking English for a good 10 minutes. It was just gibberish. Anyway, let me read the email. It says, Dear Lamia, thank you for your application for the Giga Communications Internship with UNICEF's Office of Innovation. In bold, you are one of the shortlisted candidates for the next stage of the process. Congratulations. Would you be available for a 30-minute competency-based interview with our team on Wednesday, the 1st of September? And then they go on to, state the times. Once you confirm your availability, we'll send you a Zoom link for the interview. So at this point, I finally, calmed down enough to read the actual email. I have no words, so I just give my phone to my mom. She reads it. She's like so happy, but I think she's also a bit cautious because she's seen how many times in the year 2021, which might I also add was the hardest year of my life, how many times I'd just been disappointed. So I think she's a bit cautious, but she was quite excited. I was just excitement times 100. And so at this point, I'm thinking, let me check my diary. Oh, you're in luck. I actually do happen to have a slot. So of course I get back to them with the quickness, and I'm like, yeah, I can do an interview. Let the record state that from that moment on, I went into full-blown preparation mode. Like after that, I don't even know if I finished watching Come Dine With Me. And I just started preparing left, right, and center. I knew that UN internships were competency-based. I brought out all of those notebooks where I'd actually been preparing for competency-based interviews in the past. And I just went into work mode after that. I mentioned it to one of my friends who actually also did a UN internship. And she was like, let me prepare you for your internship. And I was like, that is just the kindest thing ever. So she set up a call with me like very quickly, and we spent about 2 hours just prepping me and telling me how best to prepare for the interview. I don't think I'm being modest in saying that had it not been for her interview prep, I really think I would not have been making this video. I think the outcome would have been a bit different. I will do my best to try and get her on this channel to share all of her tips because they did me the world of good. So yes, I prepared thoroughly for the interview. I also need to mention that this email came about a week in advance from the interview date. So you guys need to understand that I was so impressed because I'd submitted my application on August 4th, and towards the end of August, I'd received, word back. I was so excited. Like, to me, everybody knows the UN system. I guess with most international organizations that are really big, bureaucracy is quite slow. And so yes, I prepared for my interview, and September 1st came, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was very nervous. Actually, I started journalism school, like peace journalism training, on the same day. So I actually had to leave peace journalism training early that day. It was 5 o'clock my time, Harare, Zimbabwe, Central Africa time, and we began the interview, and it did last about 30 minutes. I'll talk more about my interview experience in a different video, but it was very, very nice because let me give you my 2 cents just to say that at least for Gen Zs and hopefully for other generations, like, first impressions really do matter, and we care about diversity. Within the first 3 minutes of the interview, I was just so impressed with how diverse the panel was. My initial impression was, this is definitely a team that values diversity of people, which to me signals that they, value diversity of perspective. So honestly, that was so impressive to me. And even if I didn't make it to, to the actual internship, that would have been my lasting impression. The first thing they said to me was, like, your cover letter really stood out to us, and you should be proud of yourself for getting to this stage alone, because it was really competitive. And of course I already knew that because I had seen, and of course, it was with headquarters, and I didn't expect anything less. That being said, when I actually heard that there had been 160, 170 applicants and shortlisted like 3 or 4 or 5 people, like after that, my expectations were even like lower. At that point in time, it was just like, I'm just gonna have fun with it because, like, that's a lot of people. Towards the end of the interview, they told me, we'll be in touch in about a week or so because we're still interviewing candidates. So I said, okay, that's understandable. Of course, not expecting much, just monitoring my expectations. But at the same time, I was just so blown away by this specific initiative. And I told my friends who were so eager to hear, interview updates, that, even if I wasn't selected, I was still gonna monitor their progress because I was so impressed by the whole initiative. I just thought it was the coolest thing. In that time, it goes without saying, but I was still, constantly refreshing my emails just to see if I would hear anything back. And then on the morning of September 8th, 2021, I was eating breakfast outside, and I received a WhatsApp message, and of course I recalled the name that popped up as the person that like interviewed me. So I received this message, and it basically said, we really enjoyed talking to you, and we put your name forward for the next stage of the application process. And I was so excited, I started running around the house. No word of a lie, this was actually what happened. So much so that I don't think I ever like used the words, "Mom, I got the internship," like my mom already knew. And then afterwards, after being all excited, I was like, what's the next stage of the process? Because I don't think I have any interview left in me. So I asked, and I think I said, what can I expect from the next stage of the application process? And then I was told that it was just like the document submission, that kind of stuff. You know, your health insurance, your degree, signing NDAs, signing, you know, like the official offer letter and stuff. I know that sounds like it's really simple, but it actually was probably the longest part of the whole application procedure. It took a long time for me to hear from the administration and to get those documents to them. I remember I had like an issue with my medical insurance, perks of, you know, living a very nomadic life. And I officially started on September 22nd. And the rest is history. I started on September 22nd. I think it was a Wednesday, just as a nice, you know, full circle moment. It was actually UNGA week, the UN General Assembly. So I'm a very sentimental person. So, you know, the fact that it happened to start during the most important time, you know, in the diplomatic world, like the Super Bowl of the diplomatic world, the fashion week of the diplomatic world, it just tied in really nicely and was super sweet. But that's the story about how I went about getting my internship. From the time of submitting my application all the way up until, you know, signing on the dotted line. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.